to make a quantum shift in education, because of course we were ending in a dead loop. That's why we now experiencing this COVID time, this pandemic, this lockdowns, because society doesn't know where it's going towards. It has to create new dreams. The old dreams are not working anymore, so we have to create new dreams for the future. And these dreams are created in education. These dreams are created in these very young souls who just go to a school and where their thoughts and belief system is formed very much during this whole period. And we really need new ideas. We need new dreams and let children recreate and redesign new dreams for the future. And that's why we have to redesign the education system, because it was created for a society which we know now is not working anymore. So it worked for a very, very long time. I don't think that everybody was happy in that society, but I think that for now we can, it's time to dream.
Very nice said. What is, let's say, your background?
Larissa, you were talking, but I don't hear you. Yeah.
Sorry. So what is your background in education?
So my background is, I founded a school in Belgium, a holistic school, a primary school and a secondary school, a private school. The primary school was public. I was for 5 years director of that school. And I also coached, I think, more than 100 schools in what we say, the power of their imagination. I help the children dream, the students dream, and the teachers dream about what's their dream of the future. And I coached many schools in a theater project where they created their dream into a theater project with a lot of personal development involved. So, and I developed many new materials, innovative materials for children and teachers to step into this new paradigm and really unleash all the possibilities of the brain, their being, and the body.
Wow, amazing. I would like to be in that school when I was a little kid. I have some other lady I want to give the, let's say, the talk to. Saskia, introduce yourself. What is your, let's say, connection with education and making a quantum shift in it?
Thank you, Larissa, and it's great to be in this room with people with such a broad, very holistic and future-proof knowledge about the education and quantum shifts. Now, I'm not a quantum shift expert at all, but education has been very important in my life. My mum used to be a teacher. She was a kindergarten teacher. She was then a primary school teacher. She gave music as well, and then she turned into secondary school teaching of mathematics. I recognized the line in being educated as well in a technical or a mathematical field. I was originally trained to be a construction engineer, and I've also always been writing and educating myself. Now, I'm also a mum of 3, so I've heard all the stories of my mum. I've seen her develop in her, educational career, if you like. And my 3 children have been through a number of different types of schools. And I've seen a lot. I've seen a lot of struggles in my children and their peers at school. And I firmly believe, and I want to leave it with that for now, that because we are in a culture, definitely in the Netherlands, and I would say in the Western society at large, is that we don't, from a young age, learn who we are. And even like 3,000 years ago, Socrates said, know thyself. And I think that's the key. If you know who you truly are, only then can you go through a schooling system and education in a way that suits you. I'm done speaking for now.
Wow, great. Let's say very interesting what you're saying about what your mom as an educator has gone through and what you learned from it. Noemi, just actually a technical thing. Can you press the button for the Clubhouse event? Because We see you on Zoom, but we don't hear you and see you on the Clubhouse.
Yes.
So if you want to join us on Clubhouse, that would be great as well. And then if we've done that, I can introduce you. Meanwhile, I give the stage to Roy so that the people, let's say, while you are handling your Clubhouse technical difficulties, Roy can take the stage.
Yeah, so when we teach in school, we're teaching an artificial system that actually slows down the learning process. So basically what happens is a kid is born a genius until they go to school. So now they're losing that capacity, that their innate intelligence that they have in them. And there are better ways. If we look at what's possible to brains, the brains can easily memorize over 1 million faces, with telephone numbers and addresses easily, but we're not using this. A brain can read faster than what we are now currently doing with even speed reading. We can actually do photo reading. That means we can go to the pages so fast that we can read the whole book of 200 pages in less than 5 minutes and have over 90% retention. So we're missing a lot of these things. And the best way to learn is when the brains are in a relaxed state. So we want to bring the brains into an alpha or a theta brainwave, and then we absorb much more. We don't need to focus. They've done research in Taiwan on a technical university where they hypnotized the students to do the testing or to do their research. And the amount of, let's say, requests for patents was tripled in a year when the students would be in an alpha state of learning, so a more kind of hypnotic state of learning. And all of that we're missing in our current schools. And my dream is one day to be part of an organization that's going to create the true quantum schools where children are trained, but also the parents need to have education, how they best support their children, because that's also a big missing link. And the other parts that is missing in our education is emotional intelligence. So where we give the kids the feeling of self-worth, where we teach them how to deal with emotions, how to communicate better. All these things are possible that we can incorporate in school. And last but not least, the teachers needs to be passionate. If you have a boring teacher, that doesn't help with learning at all. Mm-hmm. I've been most inspired in high school by one teacher who was crazy about physics and nature. And I want to be like this teacher. Actually, he influenced me so much. And that was the classes that I really crave wanting to go to. And the rest of the class were boring and you just sit through your time. So that's my introduction for now.
I'll have to try something because for some reasons, something is happening. Is it working for you, Noemi? Can you join us on Clubhouse? Then otherwise, and I just opened my mic. And let's say you can try and to talk to her.
If I don't hear, can you get my sound?
Yes, I can record your sound. So just talk. Then let's say.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for the Quantum Power Talk. The sound is okay, right? Okay, thank you so much. I love the subject. I want to thank you so much. quantum shift for education, because this is happening right now. This is after the dream stage of Briony, we are in action stage, and all around the world, especially after 2020, there is like people, parents, children, young people, like really realizing, what were we doing with education, with our own children, with the society in general, and with the planet? So now there is like, from having this consciousness, what do we do with that? So there is a lot of people, and what we do is called Education 3000, is to create a new platform with a new level of consciousness. It's called like an octave, like, you know, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, do. You go to the next do, and that's a new octave. And we are supposed to jump 2 octaves of consciousness as a humanity. So education is the first area concerned with all this shift of paradigms of what do I want with life? Do I want to take care of the planet? What kind of economy do I want? What kind of education do I want? What kind of health system do I want? And so on. So education is very good to start with education, because you touch all the subjects and you take care, or you save, quote, quote, the children, because they are very aware, they are very fast, they have a lot of criteria, they are very bright. And there is such a gap between what they can do, feel, and protect their vision, and the education we provide to them. So this is right now the big shift and the big moment when we give this turn of consciousness and this turn of action, and it's all together. So it's called co-creation. So thank you so much for this opportunity to share all that. This is an adventure. It's not the problem of education, my dear. It's a real great opportunity to change this world for once and forever. I mean, it's huge and it's beautiful. This is the good news. The bad news is like, it's so fast, we have to adjust very fast, but that's not so bad either.
But you're
What
joining
I
us.
wanted to add, Larissa, is give a little bit background about Noemi, because I met Noemi many years ago, before I even thought about starting a school. I never thought about founding a school, but then I met Noemi, I think in Germany, and then I invited her for several events about education, and she spoke about setting up schools, and she is a speaker worldwide, so she was always traveling all around the world, from Asia to Russia to Africa to Europe again, and she was always on her way, like empowering people just to do new things for education, and always with that same smile and that same passion. It never changes. So so I met her, and there were a lot of people who said, yeah, I also want to start a new school, because she was, of course, empowering people to start a new school in Belgium then. And then at the end I said, okay, if everybody wants to do that, yeah, I'm gonna do that too. Now at the end I was the only one doing it. Not the only one, because we did it with a group, but from the original group, there were not much then really creating that school. But we always stayed in contact, and she also, let me know, about right brain training and how to create more photographic memory training for children, how to learn them. And I got so many inspirations, just like this guide through my life, and so happy that she's here.
And me from you too. I got inspired by you. And it's all around the world.
Sorry, you have to repeat that.
And I said, yes, sorry for the echo. It's all around the world. And it's an invitation to everybody, anywhere you are. Not only to change a school, it's an entire education system. Like now, after this 2020, and I can't travel so much, that's true, but we can see like education is much more than a school. It's an entire biosystem of co-learning. We all learn, adults and children and the whole society. And it's a eco-life system. It's a smart system, and it's moving, it's flexible with all the new necessities of the human being, of the society, and of the planet. So it's like, yes, we have many tools, we have many ideas, but please, the idea is to co-create the entire environment for this blossoming of this human being, for the capacity to do, like entrepreneur, but entrepreneur with a notion of service. If I have a talent, is to give to the society, to help the humanity, to help the planet. And it's called circular education. And it's beautiful. It's the entire, I mean, the opposite concept, entire new concept. And something with the heart and emotional issues. Saskia talk about Socrates. And next to Socrates, we have Aristotle. I don't know in English, Aristotle. And he said, education without the heart is not education at all. So it's not so new either, but it's very true. So we have education of the inner being, of the emotional intelligence, nonviolent communication, new approach on environment and consciousness in economy and sociology and so on, so on. So it's a shift, and it's a quantum shift, meaning it's a shift of consciousness first. I made very short the story, but it's real. This is what we are doing right now.
Saskia, I see you nodding. You wanted to add something?
Well, only briefly, the shift that I didn't mention that, but the shift that I see is needed from my children, having been through Steiner schools, regular schools in the Netherlands, as well as a democratic school, one of our children, is what is killing most children. I like to make a bold statement. But what I think is killing their motivation and their sense of well-being at school is that motivation is being dictated, and I think the shift that is really needed is to shift towards intrinsic motivation, and also to stop focusing on what can be improved, but why not embrace and focus on your natural talent, that's what you have to give to the world. Why not just not nurture that, and then we can all do what we have to do with the, well, from the heart.
So who wants to add something? I see also Roy writing and Briony noddings.
We want to bring
Roy,
out
can you just,
talents in children instead
yourself?
of, putting a lot of information and content into them. And so I think we should be more pursuing the talents of the kids instead of trying to create a package that fits all. And I think that that's the most important part that I miss, that, when you see, really good talents, when you don't cultivate them, you may lose those talents. And I think that is also helping with the intrinsic motivation that Saskia was talking about. That's a very important part.
Mm.
Yeah, really, I think it's really important what you said, that schools, actually both of them, what you're both saying, that schools need to embrace, let's say, the inner talent of the kids, and not, let's say, looking at what has to be improved.
Yes, and just briefly, what happens is that when you leave school, youngsters are at a loss. It is very confusing to leave school, maybe after 10, 15, 18 years, maybe not 18, 14 years, of being focused on what's wrong and what needs to be corrected and improved upon. And then you go into society. If you're not an entrepreneur, but you find a job or go through college and then find a job, the first thing they will tell you is to improve what you're good at. And how confusing is that?
Yeah, what I would like to add to that is that what I feel is that what we need as education for our society is that we first need to unstress, because we made such a stress rat race for teachers, and directors, I don't even, I was a director, and it's such a rat race, and you never have the feeling that you do it good enough, because there's so much legislation that you even cannot afford to do everything good. And then you still have to be there for your teachers, for your parents, for the children, for all the mental health problems. And then it's like, how can you even work in such a system? Because you could be full-time busy with administration and fulfilling the government's legislation, but then actually you're there to be as a leader for everybody around. So I think we just, like Roy, we give the training for entrepreneurs to unstress, to work, to learn, to work effortlessly, create a business which is effortlessly, to create more space, more breathing space, more joy, all those basic things. If we could give that back to our teachers and the directors who have to execute the work, if they would vibrate on a frequency of effortlessness and connected with their authentic talents and with their passion, then what you would see is that they would give it to the children. And what we also know with photographic memory training, all those special new kind of trainings, it doesn't work when the mind of the adult is not open. So what quantum thinking also says is that whatever you believe, that will create the outcome. So if you as a teacher don't believe in yourself, then on a lot of consciousness levels, then you will not see that in the children. So you will create an outcome for the children. It's not that you're guilty of it. It's just the natural law. You will create an outcome for the children, which is again very limited. So often they ask me, where does it start? And I'm like, it starts with being a human being and becoming aware of yourself. It doesn't matter if you're a teacher, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a parent. The more you work on your beliefs, on your open yourself up to your unlimited potential, you will see much more unlimited potential in the world around you. The persons where you work with, the children which you're coaching. And it's really like this mirror effect. We think that, we have to teach something in the old system. But as Noemi was already saying, that's just, of course, an old paradigm. We are here like walking together a journey and awakening ourselves in this process. And what we do, what we need actually is a whole awakening process and breathing space to give that awakening process time. And so what I see for the future is really, as Noemi was saying, this whole school as a community where it's as fun as being in a most paradise resort as possible. And they are on a relaxed way exploring what they want to learn and no pressure at all. Of course, sometimes pressure is very good, like to have some competition. I see Roy often doing boxing and whatever. That's a kind of competition element in it. And you want to achieve some goals. It's very good to have that. It's not that you should be always like, I love everybody and I never have competition at all. So that's like the other side. But the point is, we're making it so difficult for ourselves. And that's not needed. That's just living in the old paradigm.
Yeah, so actually what you're saying is that the teachers as well has to, let's say, improve themselves, do personal development. And when the teacher is in a better shape, then they are much more capable in handling and helping the kids to rise their own talent. But also what I heard you saying is that there is so much stress for the teacher. They have so much task that they need to do. They need to be, let's say, in healthcare. They need to be a confidence person. They need to be an admin person. So there are so many things they need to do in those few hours that they have a day. And what they do, it's never good. There's always somebody who is complaining. And sometimes they forget it's actually all about the child who is sitting in front of them in the school, because they don't actually really have the time. They have also exams or terms that they need to follow, because the government has said there has to be a certain level. So I really like the idea that once the teacher himself is more educated and learn how to be less stressful, and I think as a society we have to learn it. And what I find very interesting about COVID is that a lot of parents have learned in the hard way what kind of job it is to be a teacher, because a lot of parents all over the world had to do homeschooling, and while trying to work at home as well. So they also noticed that schooling your kids, it's a really big, tough job. And I see Noemi nodding, so I'll give her the mic. So wait a second before you start talking. Yay.
Yes, last year was such a great lesson. And I want to add to all that, this is so interesting, this talk, power talk, I love it. Why do we say quantum shift or quantum education? Because all the paradigms, is it correct in English? Paradigms? We knew were kind of blew off with this 2020 too. I like to say 2020, not to name what we don't want to name. Let's say because before education was kind of forced, you had to, and now we switched to self-motivation. Remember, Briony talked about that too, meaning you are responsible for education and you want to learn what you want to learn, and with joy and with this great enthusiasm. This is enthusiasm. This is 180 degrees of shift, you see, from I'm forced to study, I want to study. And then I have self-motivation, and then I have the activation of the lobal front, the frontal lobe, exactly, frontal lobe, and dopamine. This is a self-reward neurotransmitters, and that's a whole new story. One big shift, self-motivation. I'm responsible for my life, my education, what I want to learn, and what I want to give. Two, from very individualistic or individual education is for me, I have to be the first one, and no matter what, I will go, even if I have to put down everybody on my way. To a collective learning, education, and collective goal. This is a big shift too, 180 degrees completely. And now we talk about collective intelligence, collective learning, collective brain, holographic brain, biomorphic fields. It's all common now. 2, 3, from destruction, we had an education that lead to a society that would be more destructive than productive. Like I take the goods, I take the resources, and I don't give back. And one example is architecture. Now it's trendy that a building will give more than they take. For instance, for the energy point of view, I give more energy to the city than I pump out from the city. So that's completely different as well. And the last one is from an outside education. I have to be good outside. I have to look good outside. I have to do my life outside. I do a 180 degree inside, inner life. And that's the base of everything. That's why now education, or the quantum education we're talking about, is always linked with peace culture, peace inside, no stress. Yes, Briony, no stress for you teachers, because it's not easy. No stress for the parents. What do I do with my kid? Nothing, just with yourself. Be in peace and you will see it will work. Peace with others, no violent communication, so important nowadays. Peace with the planet and peace with society, and the end, peace with the world. So you see the mechanisms, the steps are straightforward and are the new turn of history, the new turn for this planet, the new turn for the society, and the new turn for me in my individual awakening. It's not a collective, not only collective process, it's an individual process. It goes at the same time, inside, outside, inside, outside, inside, outside. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, what you're saying is actually it has to be more of an interaction between, let's say, the inside and the outside. So yeah, that's great. Let's say great. Yeah, let's say that's one of the biggest quantum shift that we have to make as a society. Saskia or Briony or Roy, actually, I'm inviting you to add something to this.
I'd love to add something, and I'd also love to hear the other additions, because I love the variety of backgrounds. Actually, I think that's really good. I'm just wondering what Noemi, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing your name correctly. What you're saying to me gives an image of perhaps we don't need to shift, or rather transformation. People can transform. I'm not so sure we can transform the educational system, because what we have is a schooling system, and what you're offering, which I think is fabulous, is an ecosystem of learning, of developing. So why not? I am a firm believer that when you have systems that no longer work in a way that supports humanity, then don't try and transform that system, but put a new one alongside to it. I think then the shift is from the people to move from one system, looking at when seeing a new system arise, liking it, and then intrinsically want to move towards that. That's what I wanted to share.
Roy, I would say it's up your alley, making, let's say, a separate new opportunity next to the existing one.
Yeah, I totally agree with what Saskia just said. I don't think we can build on the old system, because we need to retrain also the teachers. You see, we're talking about quantum, but we didn't define quantum yet. Quantum is basically, and I think it was Briony said, we are human beings. I totally disagree with that. We're not. We're having a human experience. We are 5-dimensional beings having a human experience. But the system is not built around us being 5-dimensional. In other sense, for example, a kid is born with all these, what name we're going to give them? Extrasensory perception. They're tuned into the 5-dimensional information field. And because that the parents don't understand, the teachers also don't understand, we are telling them what is real and what is not real. And what happens, they're shutting down these natural senses that they have, and they're losing their connection to the highest intelligence. As Einstein defined it, he said that the highest intelligence is our intuition. So we need to build in the schools also these kind of trainings where we help children to cultivate their other senses, that they can really become unlimited in being able to access information. When I was diagnosed with having a brain damaged, let's say my brain was damaged and I had learning disabilities, I was spending all day into this other world. And whenever the teacher asked me a question, one of my friends in this daydream world would give me the answer. And it was brilliant in the first 6 years of my life, but I knew nothing. So I had this inbuilt Google system that I can tap into any type of information in the quantum field. And what we see in the education system now, we're trying to put so much useless information into the kids, and we don't teach them the practical stuff which will create in their life happiness and how to take care of their bodies and health and those kind of things. So it has to be, I believe, a complete new system based on all that we've learned in the past decades that we're still not applying. And I think that's where I don't see a transformation, because we need to start first with the teachers to open their minds, because they need to be trained as much more as possible to show them how the brain really works. And that when we are in this focused attention span, that's when we actually have the least, let's say, ability to bring in information. So it needs to be a radical shift in my understanding. And my dream is to start these kind of schools in, let's say, the underdeveloped countries like in the Amazon, Africa, and where we can show that the children are all geniuses, and if we can bring that out. And when that happens, then all the more Western countries with all the regulations and, like Briony explained, the legislation where what you need to dance with and get all this stuff, we can look now at a country like whatever, like let's take Suriname, and we go in the jungle there, and we get all these geniuses who become the leaders of the future. That's my dream, and that requires a total different approach. So I'm totally on with what Saskia just said.
Yeah, Roy, maybe can you just also give, I think it's a beautiful example how you trained yourself, like you told about the primary education when you had, and then the next steps, what happened then. It's very interesting story.
Right. Okay. So yeah, actually that's a funny story. So as long as I was in the, let's say, the first grades of school, I had my friends and helpers, and whatever I needed to know, they will tell me. And then I do not know exact the reason. Maybe it was puberty. When I went to high school, I was just thrown back into the 3D. All of a sudden, everybody was gone and had no more access to the 5D experience. But they had a parting gift. And the parting gift was that they give me the idea that I can learn during my sleep. So what I started doing was I started recording all the facts, all the, whatever we need to learn, history, geography, math, and so on. I recorded everything. In that time, we had these big recorders which we can record over 8 hours, that kind of stuff. And then I would go to sleep, and I never consciously learned. And I became the best in the class. I developed photographic memory, speed reading, all those things. And then when I went to university, I remember I went one time to the college to check out. I fell asleep, never returned. And then I also passed my test as a medical doctor cum laude. I really had really good numbers. And I learned almost everything I know during my sleep. And if we talk about quantum, effortlessness, grace, ease, and joy, this is the way to go. And yet now, and now I'm 68, and we're talking about, I don't know, 40, 50 years ago, at least 50 years ago. And we're still not using this technology while we can learn languages while we're sleeping. So for example, our daughter wanted to learn German. And the first thing we did, we create what we call a brain training that she can listen to during her sleep. Everything shifted, her confidence, her happiness to speak German. Before she was shy. Now she was really rocking it, enjoying it with a lot of passion. And then you can see that in a child just with a simple audio. And these are the things that we're lacking in our current education. And that's for me more the application of the quantum principles. Our brain has such a much greater capacity for learning than we actually really know at this point in time.
Yeah, it's a really, really great story. But I also actually want to enlighten something when it comes to creativity, because I think that we are so focused in school on mathematics and science. And if a kid said, I want to do something with creativity, it's like, that's not okay. The first question they usually ask you, what are you going to do for a living when you grow up? And when you say, I'm going to be a painter or a writer or a cartoonist, parents and actually the whole environment shake their nods and go like, no, you need to get a proper education. And let's say Roy has proven you can make money with just writing books. So it is possible, but I would say one of the quantum shifts I believe that has to be made in education is give the kids the creativity back.
Yeah, I think it's not only about education, but our society. That's just how our society thinks. They don't see like creativity as they see it for financial reasons, for project management. There you can be innovative and creative. The other ones is just fun, that's animation, that's by the side. On Friday evening, you can go to a performance. How I see is that will for the future totally shift, because imagination is our core power to recreate and redesign the future. So the moment we feel that again, and the moment we feel again that this is our core talent from every person on this earth, then, and if you are awakened for that, then you see the power of arts and creative expression. So this means that schools will be full of experts in arts. Just you can learn so much cognitive skills through arts. We also already, in my previous school, we created a musical around all the elements of the body, where you learn everything through singing about the organs and the body and so on. So you and children did a performance for that. Now they will never forget this again. So this is so important for the future, that we use these arts and that we make it, that we use these arts for creating the more sustainable future. And so we will have this, of course, these experts in arts who will be in the school. So then, and you will see that the children also will see it as part of their society, and they will create much more, arts as the connection with the mystical dimension, connection with the quantum field, connection with your intuition, because that's why we have art for. Art is just to show that what we cannot put in numbers, and explain it through several artistic expressions. So I'm sure that will change for the future. In my mind, it already changed.
I'm looking forward to it. Let's say that it's normal that you can be an artist and nobody will look to you, let's say, strangely. So yes.
Oh, they will see you. They will see you as the ambassador for imagination. So you're even a very valuable teacher, because you help to get through this dreaming part, which because we will create much more through dreaming, as we already discussed during this this talk. And you will need a lot of ambassadors, coaches for that, who bring you in that dreaming state and help you to connect and have visions for the future.
I know, Saskia, you also had, I know, a nice story about the changes that you made in your studies, going from alpha to beta. So
yeah. Yes, that's one thing I can share. The other thing that came up is that Roy mentioned dyslexia a while ago. Looking back on the past couple of years, I am supporting entrepreneurs with dyslexia or any other form of text and language stress to write their book. And what I noticed in all of these people, and looking back, I had the same with my primary studies of architecture and building and construction, is that people with dyslexia or with learning difficulties decided by other people who consider that learning difficulties actually just have a different skill set, but they all leave school, or the majority of them that I meet all leave school being traumatized. So I think school is the exact best place to start at a young age, when children still are themselves and still are intuitive and playful and artistic and what have you, to stop creating an environment which has never been purposefully, or has been created on purpose that way. But I think this is the side effect of how we've had a schooling system for years, and we can turn that around. So
it, Saskia,
it's a prison, yes, and it's traumatizing, because for the remainder of your life you have to peel off all these layers of I'm not good enough, and somebody decided because I can't write or because I can't do maths, I'm inferior to other people. So yes, the thing in me, referring to what you said, Larissa, in my story, is that I did grammar school. I loved learning. I was good at learning, and I realized that was something I was given. I never had to work for that. So I never felt superior or inferior in that sense to anyone else. But what I did see is that when I went to secondary school, it was either the cognitive, the technical side, the scientific side, or the language side. And I went to a grammar school, and it wasn't until my daughter went to grammar school herself, many, many years later, I wasn't a young mum, I suddenly realised, gosh, before I did all the maths and the science and what have you, and went into calculating structures in steel and timber and concrete, I, like her, had 6 language subjects at school for years. So this whole notion of being one or the other, to me, just feels so wrong, and I think it cripples people. So yes, Briony, I think it is a prison that you're being put into and that you then resonate with, and you have to get rid of all that nonsense. And that's a long journey. So I'm all for schools that are set on a new foundation to stop that from happening.
Yeah, I think what really important is what you're saying is that, let's say, the limited beliefs that kids are getting, let's say, in the schools, and because of the limited beliefs they are receiving, they are not allowing themselves to embrace their own talents and to grow as a person. I'm actually curious, for Noemi, you're joining us from Bolivia, so you have anything to add? Just give me 1 second and I will open the mic for you. Yes, you can go. Yes.
I agree with Roy. It's much easier to be in so-called developing countries because there is nothing to, the way is free. You don't have to fight with the old education. So that's true that it's easier from Bolivia. Now, everywhere around the world, how do we achieve all that? And there is like a formula. I know in some countries, people like formulas. There is several levels. We have several levels of pedagogical area we have to attend. And with that, it's for sure all the children, parents and teachers will feel more relaxed because they have a way to achieve all that, which is a lot of physical exercise, sport, not so competitive if possible. So the body feels good. So the emotions are flowing. So your intellect is flowing and even your inner connection is flowing. 2, renovate the topics, how do you say, curricula, syllabus? Now we call it Curry Life, to have a very interesting subject. 3, emotional intelligence, always, peace culture. Then art all over the place, because that's true. Art will activate this part of the brain, frontal lobe, and a special part here as well, and connect with the pineal gland. So art is trigger for creativity, find solution, and beauty, consciousness. Then we have ecology. The kids, the children, everybody, we have to touch earth and take care of this, have this therapeutical contact with earth, and to have everything with the environment in mind. It's so good. It's pedagogical and it's therapy. And then action, entrepreneur, everything you want to do, all your vision and dream, to be able to do it with no stress. I know I can do it. So I'm not frustrated and I feel useful. That's the circular education. And the last one is inner development. If we follow these 3 ideas, it always works. Plus, of course, learning at night. That's a great idea. So now we have 8 areas. So it's not as complicated. As long as we follow these 7 steps, it always works. In any country, like I am in Bolivia and we work with now 56 countries. In Europe, China, we have good contact over there. So now we want to bring all that to the next level. It's called multi-university. When everything new, we want to put this in this university and help people with new information. It's called non-conventional topic, and we can do that on university level. That's the goal for this year. Thank you.
Yeah, I would say that's a great, you want to say something, Briony?
I was just thinking that maybe we can resume and then give people the moment to ask questions, because I see we are having our last 10 minutes. So
yeah, that's you're totally right. I will just open up, let's say, the stage for them so they can join us if they want to. Just 1 second. Yay. Yep, done. So if you have questions, you can now raise your hands. Let's say it was great, let's say for the people on Zoom, it was great to having these experts on the Zoom call, hearing all the different sides, all from actually different part of the country, actually part of the world, I have to be more precise. And what I can say is that the quantum shift that we need to make in education is less stressful teachers, making, let's say, the children get rid of the limited beliefs, getting them back actually into the 5D persons that they were born into and that they lost actually because of the prisons of schools. That's what I got in short of, let's say, this whole Zoom call. So I would like to thank you for joining us on Zoom, and then we continue, let's say, in Clubhouse for the question. Next week, we will be talking about finance and the money mindset. So I hope you will join us then again on the Zoom call.